Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Awaken the World. We are live right now. It is 6:30 p.m. on the 13th day of the 5th month of the year 2021. L plus E equals G, the formula for living. Hello, hello, hello. It's always funny, the amount of stuff that goes into doing these broadcasts, and I've really tried to make them as simple as possible, and still last minute there's always something that pops up, something that defaults back to another setting for some strange gremlin driven reason. And it's just kind of the way it is with computers. And speaking of computers, I was telling Kelly this joke, and I just want to share it with you because I find it to be quite funny. So, as a Buddhist, if you get too involved with your computer, you enter the state of nerdvana. I thought that was really good. Right up there with what Buddha got for his birthday, which was exactly what he wanted. Nothing. So before you all keel over dead from bad jokes, let me express my love for each and every one of you. Wherever you are right now is exactly where you need to be in your existence. And boy, oh boy, do people fight up against this in so many ways. Like it's just amazing to watch. It's like, no, I want to hold on to all my pushing up against life. I want to hold on to all my angst and all my perceived suffering and all oh, I see Sharon. Hi, I see you. You're the first person who showed up. Kelly shows up, but because that's our thing, it doesn't look the same. Anyways, I only see the first one, and it's you this time. So you missed a joke. I'm not going to repeat it. but really, I just recently this happened with a post, and the core of our little mathematical equation, and I promised no math here, and personally I love math. It literally is a universal language, another way of expressing things that oftentimes words cannot accurately simplify, and a lot of times in a very simple formula we can see so many things. So in this case, we're not really talking about math, although we could assign numerical values to those analogs, but we're not gonna. What we're really talking about is that love, right, plus experience, in other words, what you perceive that you're going through, equals growth. Now, in our last video, or the video just, no, I think it was the last video, we were talking about letting go of the story and about labels. And one of the things about the story is it really is just a story. I have my point of view on my story, and that point of view has changed over and over and over again, and finally steadied out into kind of meh. It really is like a good novel I read. And as I said to Kelly just last night, the funny thing about a good novel or a good drama on Netflix or whatever the case may be is that, yeah, you can laugh and you can cry and you can have that experience reading the novel. In other words, going back into your past if you must go back there from time to time. But at no time do you put that novel of your past or the novel you're reading down today and then, keep crying over it and keep going back to it over and over and over again? You understand it's just a book. It's just a creation. Now, when I say just a creation, I'm not knocking it because it's all just creation and it's all wondrous and awe-filled and awesome. But what I'm really talking about here is that a book is just another point of view. Just like you have a point of view, you have a story. And we have to be willing to love ourselves enough to honestly look at what we truly, truly have faith in. And this is the easiest way to explain it, okay? If you are willing to believe that there is a conscious creator, something that is beyond our ability to fully comprehend on all the levels of what it means, what that word even means, word creator, and it's just a word. But if you're willing to accept that, if you're willing to accept that we live in a universe of love, a universe where we all of us, everything is a manifestation of that creative essence, is it not a very easy thing to have enough faith to understand that indeed you are loved? And that if you're going to create a story where you perceive damage and things that shouldn't be and things that couldn't and wouldn't and unfulfilled dreams, if you're going to choose to perceive that, how is that loving yourself? How is that an expression of that faith that you do live in a universe where that creative essence, whatever you want to term it, loves you, is you, has manifested you? We must be willing to look deeply at what we truly hold in our hearts, what we truly have faith in. And one of our members had written a comment in the last video, and it had to do with, well, what in your experience was it that actually started the shift for you? And believe it or not, from the moment that you begin to have experiences in this physical realm. In other words, as soon as you pop out of your mother's womb, or the test tube, or the egg in my case, those experiences are like a gentle breeze blowing you back towards full awareness and full conscious awakening. So the answer would be every experience. There does come certain experiences that stand out and are highlighted, that certainly help lead to higher levels of realization, maybe a little faster than would be achieved without that experience, sure. And one of those experiences is near-death experience. Now, the one thing I want to make abundantly clear before we go into this formula and go into this a little deeper is that there is no race. In other words, there's no hurry for you to fully awaken. Excuse me for a moment. As human beings and living in the societal system we do and with the programming we have, we can very easily get caught up in the idea that, if we're supposed to get to point B, then anything prior to point B is not soon enough. Like we have to get to point B. I'll be happy when again, right? Or I'll be awakened when. And as I said, there really is no race. You can't really, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's the truth. You can't speed up the process. But you could say, well, wait a minute. 2 years ago, I never even thought about this stuff, and then I ran into you, and you piqued my interest, and I've grown so much in the last 2 years. Isn't that an example of how I've accelerated the process? And I would say to you, no, everything was perfectly planned already. This whole experience was already planned out. You accepted the challenge of your own journey here, and you reached this point and you chose that conscious awakening path. This alone is a marked victory in your existence, a big golden star that you had planned to accomplish on this journey you're on right now called your life. And that's what I'm talking about, that L. L for love. And the understanding that, and here's another little point, okay, which is worth keeping in mind, that physicists are now actually beginning to vacillate and go back to the concept that there is indeed a sense that everything is determined in all of creation. And that would be, of course, because we view things in that single linear plane of past, present, and future. Whereas, of course, in the depths of the quantum realm, time is lost totally. Everything past, present, and future occurs only in that present moment. I wonder where we've heard that before. So when you accept this, when you understand that everything has happened according to wondrous plan, and that your choices are simply augmenting the journey laid out, deciding how you're going to perceive the journey. This is really what your choices are all about. And this may seem difficult to accept, but it's the truth. It's already been written in the book of life. It's already done. We can go into the realm of the Buddhists, and we can find it in the mantra and joyous exaltative prayer of Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhi Svaha. Gone, gone, already gone. Already there, all of us on the other shore, the shore of enlightenment. So it is. So that love is an understanding that you have choice, and your choices is wrapped up in how you're going to perceive your journey. And people love to fight and squabble against the idea that there's something wrong with their journey. The last comment in another post that I was commenting on, someone came back and you could just feel the angst beginning to build. And it was all about, well, have you ever had someone who was drug addicted or homeless? And, I was homeless on more than one occasion. Every experience is perfect in what it's offering us. Have that bit of faith that The journey was planned by an aspect of you that sees so much more and knows the wondrous truth of your existence wholeheartedly. That you are beyond harm. That this is a play. And that you are swimming in, made of, and surrounded by a loving, creative universe. So what do we add to that love in order to experience that growth? Well, of course, we add E, and that E is experience. When we choose to view an experience negatively, not only are we, and how do we say we view an experience negatively? Well, that would be we create thoughts about the experience that our body sends a message back to us in the form of negative feelings. So let's find an example. Okay, and this is probably a really good example to have. If you feel you're suffering in some way, let's say the suffering is making a decision about what you need to do, and you're struggling about that. In your experience, if you choose to judge it negatively, if you choose to create negative thoughts surrounding it, you will begin to drift off course. And instead of being focused on solving the issue in front of you, you will instead focus on your judgment. And notice that this is what happens when there's anything that we choose to judge negatively. We really stop looking at that which we claim triggered our judgment. And instead we end up focusing on our judgment of it being negative. And sure enough, we end up having a negative experience. And then you would say, well, Garhen, see, I told you so. I thought about it, and that produced negative thoughts, and I didn't, or negative emotion, or feelings, and I didn't pay attention to those, and I kept having more negative thoughts, and look how it turned out. Look how bad it turned out. See, I told you so. And I would say, well, yeah, you got exactly what you got. You're going to have the experience, and you can't avoid it. This is the love of creation. The love of creation, part of that love, part of that as you wish, is that you're going to have the experiences whether you want them or not. Because you're either going to want the experience and be open to the experience. In other words, I accept whatever life brings me. Or I'm open to this experience. Or you say to yourself, I don't want the experience, which of course will bring on that experience even more so. Because that's how things work. When you're willing to let go of that judgment, when you're willing to look beyond your perceptions of your experience, you're given the opportunity to grow. To grow in wisdom, to grow in understanding, to grow in patience, to grow in compassion, and to grow closer and closer to that wonderful state of being where no matter what is happening, you're focused on the perfection. Now, focusing on the perfection doesn't mean that you are not empowered to make positive change. As a matter of fact, quite the opposite. And I know you could say, well, wait a minute, if it's already positive, why do I need positive change? keep in mind, we're here to improve upon the master's domain. We're here to improve upon that perfection. You see, things got a little confused in the old biblical writings, and it's a lot clearer in a lot of other texts that weren't so badly twisted, let's just say, to suit certain power and control structures that existed and wanted to continue to exist. But the point is this: you are a steward of all of creation. And perfection is not an end state of being. Perfection is an ever evolving state, just like everything else is. So when we have an experience, when we're willing to see that experience out of the eyes of love, in other words, all of creation loves me, clearly I needed the experience out of love. What do I take from this experience? When you're open, you can see the lesson quite clearly. And you also see the gem, the hidden gift that enriches who you are through the experience, and you experience that growth. The more we knock, and this is the really insane part of it, okay, is that, so as I've said, if something begins happening right now, all the things that were needed to make it happen right now actually occurred at what we would say is in the past. So now that it's here and I'm in the act of experiencing it, the concept of not being willing to accept it is indeed a form of insanity, because it's already happening. It's too late. All the things that it would needed to have done to change it are already gone. So clearly, the experience must need to be. And in that moment in faith, of that moment of realization and reminding and understanding that I am loved, that I live in a universe of love, that I swim in that ocean of God's love. No matter what I experience, I open myself to the experience. Some experiences bring me to tears. Some experiences lead me to pain, physical pain. Some experiences lead me to experience suffering if I am in the way of the experience. But the gift, the soft words in the background, speaking ever so softly, but ever so lovingly and sweetly in our ears. Don't worry. It's okay. It's just an experience. Don't worry. You are loved. Don't worry. You are as immortal as I am. Love plus experience equals growth. But if you're not willing to open yourself to the experience, if you're not willing to open yourself to love, anytime you reduce anything in that equation, you lose out on the growth. Allow this to hopefully shift your perception a little bit. You know, I don't beg creation to give me the harshest experiences it can. I don't. But I do not close myself to whatever life does bring me. And even in the darkest night, even when surrounded by monsters and demons and those things that would seek to destroy what and who I am. Any of the elusive stereotypes, or that's not even really the right word. It would be more like archetypes, sorry. You are loved. You are deeply loved. And whatever you're experiencing right now has been brought to you out of love. Be willing to love yourself enough to make sure the story of yourself that you're going to write is a positive, loving, uplifting story. That's what you're here to see. That's what you're here to grow towards. The same knowledge that I have, whether obtained through NDE or through experience itself. You are loved, you are cared for, and you are eternal. Much love to you. Namaste. Have a beautiful Thursday night. We'll see you again on Saturday Eve. We're off kayaking tomorrow to Mara Lake. So assuming I survive that, we'll see you on Saturday. All my love, and take care. Good night.